That's the recording sound. Excellent. Well, I think Jim's on his way out, but thanks to Jim Taft for showing us some of the work that's been done at Albert Bridge School and telling us about some of the work that we can't see, but is important nonetheless with our generator and our water bug, and what was the other one? The HVAC system, some updates there. A lot of important, valuable summer work. What's up,
Christine? Do you, he's just left, but do you know where I can find the regulations about stall doors?
I do not, but I can look. Check on that for you.
All right. Any other talk related to the building tour? Are we all good? Okay, hearing none. On to item 3, approval of minutes. And we will start with May 6th, 2024. Folks want to take a quick look? I did not see anything that stuck out to me as needing correction here. And then the other minutes were from our retreat. Folks had a chance to look at those. I think those look good. They're fairly high level, but I think we have supporting materials for that stuff. So, and thanks to Nancy for doing that one. And she's not here yet. Nancy did a great job. All right, so I will take a motion to approve the minutes from May 6th, 2024 and June 3rd, 2024, which was our retreat.
So moved.
Seconded.
Awesome. All right, any further discussion on that? Okay, hearing none, I will take a roll call vote, and I will start with Amy. How do you vote?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Elizabeth?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. So Nancy not here yet, but that is approved. 6:27. Okay. Our next item is public comment for items that are not on the agenda or announcements.
Oh.
And let me just read the spiel before we do it. Find it. There we go. I'll read the short version. Public comment is not legally required, but we believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns over issues. Through these meetings, our board models for our students how to conduct public discourse, and that the board and members of our community can approach controversial issues in a civil and constructive manner and can demonstrate mutual respect. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed for discussion. Please start by identifying yourself and what town you reside in, and limit your remarks to 3 minutes if you would. You have an announcement?
Well, it's a comment.
Okay.
And that is that we got our tax bills, and Windsor and West Windsor both underwent reevaluations that totally changed our CLA ratings. Windsor's CLA went up to 120 something percent, and West Windsor's went up something like 110%. So our tax rates are actually much lower than was expected.
That's great.
That's really good news.
So, yeah, unfortunately, it did bupkis for Heartland, but we're actually
That's great.
okay.
Did Heartland get a
No,
reappraisal or
No.
not? No.
they did not get a
No.
reappraisal. They're
Which is
still at
why-
59%, and
Ugh.
their taxes went up 20%.
Which is why
It's really hard.
it got to be buckets. They didn't do a reappraisal.
Right. Yep. But, so gratitude to those who got on the reappraisal and got us back to a breathable.
That's great news.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's awfully difficult to reassure people that when they get their reappraisal, be like, well, it's not really going to raise taxes significantly because there is the common level of appraisal. And then you get, what's that?
Well, the common level of appraisal didn't logically make sense to me because of the common part,
Mhm.
because there were only 2 districts that were above $1 and everybody else was below $1. So how is that making the $1 the median?
Right.
It didn't compute. But now looking through the CLA now, it actually is calibrated properly.
All right. Well, that's really good
That's
news
great
for
Yeah.
our 2-town district.
Yep.
Given that
Yeah.
those
Any
2
other
towns both,
Communities across the state that have been reappraised where it made a difference, positive difference?
Yeah, lots.
Lots.
Quite a few, or not lots, quite a few.
Okay,
excellent.
great.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing that, Elizabeth. Any other public comment or announcements? Do we have any community members online today, or is it just the team here?
Team and some teachers.
Team and teachers. Well,
Yeah.
they're on the team too. I have one announcement that was sent to me by Mary McNaughton. She just wanted me to let folks know that Overdose Awareness Day is coming up at the end of the month. And I'll just read the poster here. Join us as we come together to commemorate the lives of those lost to overdose. The event will offer local resources and support, followed by a candlelight vigil to share messages of remembrance, healing, and hope. And food will be provided by Windsor Elks Lodge, number 1665. And that is August 31st, 6 to 8 p.m. On the Common in Windsor, right across from the library. So it's a great event. They've been doing it for a few years now. Very impactful event. So if anybody's interested, feel free to join. And Christine, I think you put the poster in.
It's going in the newsletter. Yep.
Excellent. Cool. So there will be a poster and QR code for any folks who see that. And that is my announcement. Any others? Back to my agenda here.
Busy summer. I'm pleased with what I am pleased about is the number of student, elementary in particular, opportunities increasing in the area.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you get the rec center, you get BTG camp, which is just amazing. They've been doing these weeks in a swimming week. And then, of course, the new Brownsville, I've heard
The base
amazing
camp.
thing,
Yeah.
base camp.
Yeah.
Awesome.
About that.
Yep. And Weathersfield ran a STEAM camp
Yeah.
after Summer Academy, which was great. So I agree. More opportunities for kids
Yeah.
and they're fun.
Yeah.
So
Hannah did base camp and it was life changing. She's loved it.
Oh,
It's
I love
been
that.
Really, yes,
Yeah.
it was
Excellent.
really great experience for her.
I feel bad that Daniel wasn't able to because we got into the Monchai and Vins because you have to, that opens up December 4th
Yeah.
and it closes December 5th.
Mhm.
It's all booked like that.
it's true.
And so
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
it is great.
Yep.
So
There's all sorts of stuff. My nephew did spa camp. I'm not even sure. I think that was up in like Queechee or Hartford or something.
Yeah.
I do that.
He loves
I do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, he felted soap.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it was really. I think
Wow.
that I think he had some other camp and it fell through, and then at the last minute, that was like what filled the week that he was with my
Yeah.
folks, and they were like, I don't know, but he loved it and thought it was great. So,
That's
That
great.
is cool.
Yeah.
That
yeah,
is very
some
cool.
great gifts for grandparents too. From
Yeah.
that, so
and so I
great.
guess publicly, I'd like to recognize the 2 women who, both from West Windsor, who put that time in and did the base camp, as well as those who, the staff at BTG who put that time into it. So,
Excellent. Thanks, Bill. All right. Any other public comment or announcements before we move on? Okay. And is that door unlocked if Nancy does show up? I just want to make
No,
sure.
it is not.
Okay, so we need to.
Can you just pop it open with a rock? Yeah, it's a little.
I tried to open a window, but it don't work so well.
Excellent. Thank you, Christine.
Oh, and one more announcement,
There you go.
and that is that the Saturday car wash, raising funds for air conditioners in the Windsor School.
Awesome. Do you know where that's taking place?
Do you know where it is?
I believe it's at the Connecticut Valley Insurance.
Oh, in that little
Isn't that
pull
this,
through.
I think it's this weekend, right? This
Yeah, it's on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's all calls where they do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for reminding. Yes, yeah, Saturday. Check out the car wash so we can get some ACs that.
The high school
Unfortunately.
students are doing it, right?
Oh.
That's,
What's that?
Honestly, the first I've heard of it, but
the high
it's,
school students are putting it on. There was a group of students that,
Yes. I've been needing to get my car washed, so I'll try to spin through there when I'm in town.
I
Excellent.
Certainly feel the heat when it's really warm out.
Especially if
In
you're a
those
high school
classrooms.
student on the
Uh-huh.
third floor.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
bad.
Yep.
It's bad.
No, and I know that was a casualty of our budget difficulties
Yeah.
this year, so it's very cool of them. All right, I'm going to call that the last announcement, but I'm glad we had some extra time to get some more good information out there, and we will move on to item 4,
Yep.
which, oh, no, that was 4. We're going to move on to 5, which is the administrative report.
Okay.
Do you want me to share my screen, Christine?
Yeah, because I just got an error. Yeah, do you want to? That'd be great, Jen.
We're on the wrong page. There we go. Okay. All right, so I'll get us started. So here's our August update, although most of the summer has to do with things like the camps and the building maintenance, which is rocking and rolling. We've got a little bit to share with you. So we're going to talk about staffing updates, a little bit about the middle school leadership process with the students. There's going to be an update with the pre-K through 5 dismissal plan by Tracy, some of the summer work happening with Math Leader and Me and high school proficiency, and a request for a change in contract. So here's our hiring updates. We've been busy. Winter's been very busy. So lots of change in the middle school. So they've got Kenyatta Hamilton, 7-8 writing teacher. Jonathan Barth is a 7-8 math teacher. JJ Vasco is their 6th grade math science teacher. We've got Jacob Meager, who is moving up from middle school to replace Andy Tuff's position in social studies. Kristen Leonard for the health role, which is super awesome. Molly Murray, 1st grade. Alyssa Hebert, 3rd grade. Jesselyn Murray, 4th grade. Sarah Newton, 1st grade, who is coming out of special ed. Eliza McSwan for the high school administrative assistant. Elizabeth Roberts is a perma sub. Julie Aylward will be a 0.2 for 7th period exploratory and a 0.4 perma sub. Sarah Carlisle for ABS music and Wendy Allen for ABS administrative assistant. Which leads me to, we've had 2 really big retirements in the last couple of weeks. Our front office is going to shift dramatically with April Sykes, who has been a part of this school, this community for 30 years, serving what are now our parents when they were children. So she's been around for quite some time, and we're losing a lot of institutional knowledge, skill, and familiarity with her. But she's retiring, and we want to wish her all the best. And just in case she happens to listen to this, I just want to remind her that once an Albert Bridge staff member, always an Albert Bridge staff member. So don't be a stranger. We're also having Jean Chick retire, who's been our nurse for at least since I've been there. And she has, as many people know, been the safe place for families, for children, for staff. Her grace and generosity has been foundational to who we've become as a part of our culture. So huge retirements for us. Both will be dramatically missed, but I'm confident that we will find people who love the school as much as those 2 did. With that, I'm going to pass it off to, I think, Tracy for dismissals.
Do you want to do the leadership stuff first, Jen? You skipped a slide.
Did I skip a slide?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I did. I totally skipped a slide. How about I talk a little bit about the middle school stuff? So, thank you guys. So there's, as I mentioned, there's a bit of a changeover with the middle school group. Lots of new energy to go with some excellent veteran knowledge and energy. So the last 3 hires that were done by the middle school were done with student leaders. Students gave tours. They were able to talk about what the school was, who the school is, who they were as a community. They were able to ask questions that they felt were powerful and give feedback on the candidates. 8th grade students participated in the high school discussions, on cell phones and the dress code procedures at the end of last year. And our goal for across the SU, particularly, Windsor's showing great capacity in the upper grades, is to really grow the student lighthouse teams this year. Now on to dismissals, Tracy.
So this is kind of the first thing that has landed. There's some paper copies if you want to look at
Tracy's
it.
lap.
Well, and I think it's a plan that was already in process and under a lot of discussion way before I arrived. Couple adjustments to this. So this is the Jim and Christine and I met, and Paul Favreau, am I
Yep.
saying that right?
Yeah. Yep.
To talk about how to make dismissal safer for students, a little speedier, and to prevent people from hovering outside the school for a long time pre-dismissals. So it does affect a little bit of parking, but I really just want to focus on dismissal right now. So families would travel in. The white line that you see on the inner loop is the moving loop, right? So people would pull out. Families will pull into the horseshoe. Students will all dismiss through the turf, which I think allows for a lot safer dismissal, right? So they'll be there with students and teachers to dismiss through there straight into cars, and hopefully that will just keep traffic flowing. At the beginning of this, when we roll it out, Jim and some of Windsor Police and Christine and I and a bunch of people will be out front to try to help the community learn this new routine. And we have a plan to put the diagram and the information and the reason for all of this out to the community early and as often as we can to help families become familiar. A couple changes are turning some of the parking horizontal instead of vertical, which will prevent cars from backing into moving traffic. Some changes in the diagram that pre-K parking is pre-K parent parking, and not staff parking. And we do lose a few spots on the corners, right? Where if you're gonna have 2 lanes traveling around the loop, you lose some of the corner parking, but Jim felt confident that all of that could be picked up in the back.
So this is gonna be the PK drop-off area, or are they still gonna come in?
They have to legally come in. So, and their start time and end time is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're still crossing traffic, but there shouldn't be that much traffic when they drop off, and they dismiss earlier than the rest of the school.
Is there a plan to put these lines actually on the playground, maybe even temporarily?
You probably should.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Those are just there for reference.
I know,
you
but I
right
can
now, but I think it's a
imagine
great
starting
idea.
with the students just to do
Nowhere to go.
some field painting,
Yeah.
but I don't know how that affects the turf.
We can ask Jim that. That's a good idea.
I've seen that on blacktop before.
Yeah.
Will this be the same in the winter? Like this seems to be able to.
It's an accident waiting to happen if we don't
Oh,
do
it is.
something.
Oh, I've done many pickups.
The playground is cleared in the winter though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
So
should be able to
that's
line
plowed,
up there
so,
still. Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So there'll be no parking right up against it'll be just, okay.
And I think a lot of it really is just helping people become familiar with the new routine, staff as well, who will really have to pitch in the beginning until we get this down to a system that works. And
Can I ask one more question? At the end of last year, the door to get into the school got really heavy, like it would
stuck.
stick.
Yeah.
It would be hard, like my little 8-year-old trying to yank on that door to get into the school. So I know I would never leave until I could get eyes that she was completely in. So I'm just curious if that's something that could be
In the
looked at
winter?
too. Because it was just really hard for
Yeah.
her to open.
There,
She'd have to wait for an adult or I'd get out and do it.
part of your plan is to have staff on duty,
Oh,
welcoming.
Yeah,
And
I think everyone will have to be all hands on deck to be a part of dismissal, whether it's, walking kids to buses or monitoring lines out on the playground, or, walkers will have another location, so we'll need some staff supervision there as well.
so is this plan is the same for arrivals?
I
Drop
think
off
they
in the
would still
morning?
drop at the, will they drop at the gate? We talked about
Okay,
dismissal
I was
a
just
lot.
curious.
I think it makes sense because as
To arrive on the turf as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it probably makes it pretty clear for people
To
to
do the
arrive
same,
and
doesn't
dismiss
it?
at the same location.
Mhm.
And you'll have staff out there, so the door,
Interrupt for breakfast or what.
yeah,
Because arrival can be just as
it can
cramped and
busy.
crazy as it can be.
Because they're going to different doors too.
There's
Yeah.
different doors depending on what
grade,
what
yeah.
grade and then.
And if you're middle high school, you may still, most of the high schoolers park out back or come in the back way, but some middle come in around that first corner of that door.
Right.
And they would still be able to do that as long as the traffic, you can't park your car and
You
turn it
stay
off
in the
in
car.
that lane. You have to.
But you can slow down
You
and kick
can
them out.
Yes.
Tuck and roll, tuck and roll.
You can stop so they can get out and then you can move into the other moving lane. So
Right.
When students come into the middle and high school, do they check in?
they go to their homeroom for
That's where they check
attendance.
in?
Yeah,
Okay. So they could easily come into the back.
they can, yes, absolutely. They
That
just have to
is an
walk.
option. Okay.
They just have to walk a little further and up the stairs. And it is going to eliminate some parking spots for staff. Jim's pretty confident we can accommodate those out back, but it is going to be a longer walk for staff.
We're also gaining back some of the visitor ones directly across those. I know those
Yes.
were all
Those
closed
were closed,
last year, so it's a little bit of trade off, but
And the pre-K parking, like during the day, it could
Yeah,
be visitor
people can park there,
parking or,
yes.
right, like,
After drop off.
It's just that, yeah.
right on.
So it's an inexpensive way
Mhm.
to try to address the safety concerns.
Mhm.
It, there are other ways we would love to fix it, but they cost a lot more money, so.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more question? If, I know some parents, some students, the parent has to go in, like their accommodations or for certain reasons, will that be accommodated? Like parking spaces if a parent has to go in or?
Yeah, I think you'd have to park in the visitor parking if you needed to go in. And that might mean you're circling for a minute until you get a spot, but yeah, sometimes parents have to go in. I mean, Jim and his team are going to do the work, changing the lines and painting new lines. So we were just waiting to share with you tonight to make sure you're all okay with the plan and
Yeah. I
then
think
we'll-
it's working with what we got, and I think I'll be interested to maybe get an update on it,
Yeah.
even by our next meetings. We'll have a couple weeks into the school year by then.
yeah, tell you how it's
We'll
going.
know a lot in a couple
Let us
weeks.
know. Well, let us know. But I think that's it's got some potential.
It's a similar model to Weathersfield and Heartland, to be honest with you. And it does take getting used to, but once parents are in the habit of it, it's pretty seamless. So. All right,
And that's just for people who are on time. I mean, if you're habitually late,
you're good.
There you go.
That's true.
So when I was a student, I would never have experienced that.
Well, that's actually a good question. So what time because I know there was something about timing are you setting a time where parents can come into the circle? Because I mean, right now, if I have to pick Hannah up, I get there 30 minutes early and I work from my car because I'm not getting in. So I'm just curious if that
At
is
dismissal.
at
Pick up.
dismissal, yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to eliminate that. We're trying to, no parking.
So it'll be a certain time, I guess, that's what I'm,
that people can
Yeah,
enter.
you can enter.
Preschool's 2:15,
So we're hoping that they'll move through before parents arrive.
but we should put that out. in
Yes,
Because
communication.
honestly, like, people get there at least 30 minutes earlier.
Some
Like,
people
it's
get
just-
there at 1:00.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I could just see that being,
But the rule is going to be, you cannot park
Yeah.
on that
you gotta
line.
keep going.
You gotta keep going. So if you want to get there an hour early and
You just
circle,
keep going.
Keep going.
you can do that.
I like that.
Awesome. Cool. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks, Tracy, for showing us that and putting in the work. And like I said, I'm interested to hear how it goes next month, and hopefully it's smooth.
Thank you.
All right, Kate is up next. I think she's on.
Yeah, I saw it.
Hey, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. So I can't see or see Christine's screen, but the two things that high school have been working on this summer is one, we talked at our board retreat about the math education. And actually at the VPA conference, I talked to a lot of the local high schools, and they're in the same position. So one, we're reaching out and connecting with other schools. But two, Bridget has been leading our math department from grade 6 and up in PDs and planning. Today and tomorrow we'll work on that again. And that will be a continual group that meets throughout the school year to work on what math is going to look like, how we can make changes, how we can get intervention in, and what other resources we need to improve those scores. We have a lofty goal of by 2026, 88% of our kids will be proficient in K-8 on math. So we're going to have to really push this to the forefront. The second big thing that high school is working on this school year is
That's next. Hold on. Next slide, Jen. There you go. Go ahead, Kate.
the second thing that we're working on is proficiencies. You've heard that we've been working on it for years since it kind of came down from the state. It's kind of fallen to the back burner, and now we have partnered with the Agency of Education. We've met with them a couple times, Christine, myself, Bridget, Angie, and we really have laid out the groundwork for a solid plan to have each department working on this so that within the next 2 years, we will have this settled at the high school.
Which is exciting.
It's very exciting. It's exciting for the teachers too, because it was kind of thrown at them and they fought it. This was 7-8 years ago. And then it kind of was half done, and that was even harder to work at. So they will be happy to have this settled. And parents will be too.
Yeah, and the partnership with the AOE, two of our teachers went to a conference. They went to I think it was the Rowland conference, and maybe it was a different one, but they heard about this work that the AOE's been engaging in. And so we reached out, and they are going to partner with us because they're doing participatory action research. So we don't have to pay anything for their support. They're just going to come and work with us. So, and they've been doing this with other schools. So
Awesome.
we're feeling really, really, really excited about the work. And, Kate's been working to get team leaders that are going to partner with the AOE content specialist. And Bridget's been really, really helping lead it. So we feel like we're in a good position to get the work done.
What does participatory action research mean?
They're doing research while we're doing the work. So they're learning as we go through it, and they have to report back. I think they're working with Great Schools Partnership, I believe.
It's
Yeah.
a fancier title for action research.
Yeah.
So
So they need people to work with for their research, and so
Right.
This is
And in some sections, we're ahead of where the state is. So that's where they'll learn from us. And in other sections, they have stuff done that we don't have done. So it should be a good partnership. They're very willing to come to the table. They give us their time and attention. So it's been nice. It feels like a relief to finally be moving on this.
excellent. What does PBGR stand for?
proficiency-based graduation requirements. There's a lot of lingo and acronyms out there, and that's one of the first things on the list with the teachers and the AOE is to create that the vocabulary list, so we're all using the same words.
So one of the major issues that many schools, especially high schools in Vermont, that have rushed, I would say rushed PDG on, is getting a multi-year assessment system to work with their SIS. Both Power School and the campus struggled with it.
Big time.
It's really, really hard because SIS systems are designed as just a 1 year snapshot.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
so,
that's what that is.
well,
Huh.
SIS, yeah.
No, that you can't go back and look at, like, what's the last day of school comes?
You can set up an SIS so teachers, parents can go back and look at, but that's within the system. But to keep grades over a multi-year time actively is really difficult in an SIS.
Why?
If you're working on a proficiency and you're working on it in multiple grades, it's just the system isn't set up that
The
way.
core system of SIS are set up within to function to allow access to the database within a particular school year. I do know of a couple of schools that have come up with creative ways, but I suggest to put this on the front burner if we're going to have a functioning
Mhm.
grading system to get the kinks worked out of how you're going to store those scores over several years. The best system was U32,
Okay.
but they had a custom system, custom grading system, including Tableau, which I know Power School uses something else. So what they did is they incorporated their digital visualization software and used the their visualization software to keep track of the multi-year grades, because a separate program can dip into the SIS and pull that out and report on it.
Interesting.
So, for example, a teacher getting a kid from Albert Bridge, say, a middle school teacher at Windsor getting a kid from Albert Bridge. I mean, it's a handful of kids and they have conferences and so, but let's say for funsies. The teacher can't currently go back into the student's,
Record?
no, not record, but each of the standard scores. They can't go back into each of the standards and look and see where the weaknesses lie?
No, that's up to how your SIS is set up for view rights. So, for example, at Hartford High School, a teacher can go in and look at a student's standard grades, PK-12.
Okay,
Well, there is no standard grades for PK, but K-12,
Right.
okay? Because that is all in their grading record.
so it's not just
Especially-
the quarterly and final grades, it's
Right.
actually each individual piece?
But it all depends on how you set it up for SIS rights. If you give a teacher multiple years,
Okay.
and you give different people different rights, like a principal would be able to view
Mhm.
all calendars, okay? And along with a counselor, they have multiple rights. But what I'm talking about is actually using that as a functional data. So you have a freshman has a standard score for one of the PDTRs, okay? As a junior, they beat that score. So then this new score has to replace that old score.
I got you.
Okay.
Yep,
And that means that this has to be within a system that is a functioning database, which SIS systems are not a functioning database because that was 2 years before.
okay.
Okay. So I've seen a couple schools do it really successfully. I've seen many schools fail. Hartford does nothing, but yeah.
Good to know,
They don't have a functioning DBGR system at all. But if you're going to put this work in
Mhm.
to make it a functioning graduation requirement, and I think that is the future.
Right.
That is what we want, to come up with a way, and you have 2 or 3 years to work on it,
Mhm.
to actually be able to report those out to parents
Mhm.
and have them be within a functioning, adjustable database.
Yeah.
So,
Makes
That would be
sense. That makes
so cool.
sense.
Yeah.
I wrote it down. Talk to Larry. Awesome. Well, thanks, Kate. Yeah, we're very excited about the work. So,
Yeah, and it's already so laid out that we should have an update every meeting from here on
Yeah.
out.
Awesome.
yeah,
Excellent.
we've dedicated
Really good.
all the PD time in this calendar. The high school teachers are going to have that time to work on this. And any release time that they need, we're just going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And get a good, I think it's going to take 2 years, but we'll get a
Yeah,
good
so do
start.
I.
All right, thanks, Kate. All right, my report is next. Not too long. Jennifer, you have to be my scroller.
Okay, tell me how I scroll.
I mean, just hit the next slide. It's connected. There we go.
Gotcha.
Okay. So this is I should have had Jim talk to this while he was here. I just didn't think of it. So Jim came to me at the end of last year, and he started to report that there were people, dogs on the track during school hours, gym class hours. It is public-private land, so it's not allowed, but he had some safety concerns. You know, he mentioned there are elementary classes down there having gym while people are running the track, and they're, you know, without shirts, you know, those kind of basic issues, but also safety issues. So he would like your opinion on whether or not you think that there should be some restriction on when we allow that track to be, or that space to be open to the general public. So just kind of gathering input.
Yeah, I mean, my sort of initial gut reaction is that during school operating hours, I think that public should not be on school grounds. I think that's pretty sensible. You know, we have security protocols for buildings so that schools can be kind of safe and secure places during the school day when students are present. You know, and I certainly don't think that anybody who's going out and running or has a
No,
dog
I
has
know.
malicious intent. But you know, in this day and age, for what it's worth, I think it's just something that you got to keep in mind. You know, and outside of those school hours, yeah, great. I mean, I use the track at Windsor sometimes, but I don't typically go down during school hours, even if I got a day off, right? You know, that I think also just functionally that really designates it as student space during those hours, even beyond safety concerns, just as far as having access. That's my 2 cents.
So we have, the SU has a use policy for the buildings. I think that this should be brought up this year about use policy for the grounds. Probably should be part of the same policy.
Okay.
For example, we're not barring people from the public coming to during school hours. We're just making sure that they're at an appropriate time. For example, if there's a school-sponsored event, of course we want parents to come.
Right.
It's a school-sponsored event,
Mhm.
so you come. But I agree with Davis. I think there needs to be some level of control for who is on school property during school hours.
And for what purpose?
Safety.
And
And
Oh,
why
oh,
She was on
oh,
one, yeah.
and-
Why they're
yeah, and what purpose? Oh,
That was a rejoinder, not a question.
okay.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
You agree?
Because we would ask, if someone is coming in for something, they'd sign in
They
the
would.
offices.
Yeah, exactly.
So it should be the same sort of thing. So
Right.
that makes sense.
The simple fact is we are, as a board, and I know as a general community, we want outside class spaces. And so if we're going to advocate for outside class spaces, then the outside class spaces need to have the same control mechanisms as the inside
Yep.
spaces. So,
Okay.
What would that mean for, like Jim, for policing, or lack of a better word, for monitoring that? Is that just something he would do, or? does there need to be additional?
I think we were just looking for direction, and then I think we're gonna have to figure out those, the communication and logistics around that.
Well, the simple fact, if you have an intruder in the school, then you find that intruder. And even though it could be a safe intruder, the admin check in, and then if they
This is the
don't
protocol.
comply, you call the police. That's why you
Yep.
have a police department for the town. And the school systems are part of the town.
Mhm.
So,
I know that at least at ABS, like if I think I came in, I was putting the signs up one day and somebody like did a quick, a
Who are
totally
you?
appropriate,
Yeah.
responsible check-in. Somebody came and said, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, "I'm on the board and putting up signs." It was all good, but
Yeah.
I was really pleased to see that because
Yeah.
it's like, that's what I would hope is happening if somebody who isn't usually there and may not be entirely familiar pops onto the property. But yeah, I mean, the only other thing I would add is maybe thinking about just because it's a change in policy, vis-a-vis the community, just maybe putting up some signage
Mhm.
and doing a little bit of kind of outbound communication about that,
Yep.
so that people aren't taken off, caught off guard by it.
Yeah.
I notice occasionally that people just completely ignoring the fact that we have no dogs allowed on the play.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. Amy, did you want to add anything? I thought her mic was on.
Only that I'm in agreement that that all of our grounds at the school are an extension of the classroom.
Yep.
And as a parent, I would thinking that there were people just wandering through would make me hesitate as far as the safety of my kids.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful. I am, as you heard, we've been doing a lot of maintenance. This is more of what Jim and his team have been doing. You heard some of what they've been doing here as well. A lot of preventative maintenance. They did at Windsor cut, repair, and tarred some of the front parking lot. They've been redoing storm drains for possible flooding in the back parking lot, cleaning the hot water tanks, repairing hot water coils, plumbing in the kitchen. They've been very busy, and I just wanted to shout out all the work that they do. And it's been incredibly hot this summer.
Yeah.
And they don't complain. They have a plan. They get to work. At Windsor, in particular, where Summer Academy takes place, that does impact their maintenance schedule, and they just work around it. And we're very lucky to have them. They're pretty awesome staff. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Jim actually told me when he was here through the replacement fencing that some of the felled trees and stuff from flooding in years past is all back up around the perimeter of the field, the lower fields in Windsor, which is fantastic. So
They do a lot. And as you heard him say
So much.
tonight, if they can do it, they will do it instead of paying somebody else to come in and do it.
Yep.
Which is pretty huge. So shout out to them, and we'll be ready. I was there this morning talking to Barbie and Ricky and Mike and Sandy, and they had emptied, I think, 5 classrooms that morning before I got there. And they were doing the floors, and they thought they might be finished by the end of this week. And I told them that would be great. So you should all take it next week and take your vacation, because they don't. Summer's really busy for them. So, and then the last slide, Jennifer, is just I could not go without some pictures of some kids. Summer Academy was a huge success again. I know that's not just a Mount Escutney thing, but it's a SU thing. And I just want to say that Katie does a great job organizing it, and the staff come together, and we've had repeating staff over the past 3 summers that we've been doing this, and they really have bonded and gelled, and I think it's helped build relationships across the SU at grade levels. And you'll often have a teacher from one school working with a support staff member from another school, and it's just been wonderful to see. The kids have been great. We had about 80 regularly coming. And then this year we were able to use the grant that Katie and I applied for 2 years ago. It was a 2-year grant, the Act 112 mental health grant. They've gone on a field trip every Wednesday, a full day field trip all over the place. K3, K2, 3, 5, and middle. They've gone to different places, but it's been a huge success. As you know, here's the plug, that ESSER money runs out. It's gone as of September. So this has been funded This program has mostly been funded with ESSER money, some special ed Idea B grant money. I think in the budget season, we're likely going to come to the local districts and ask for a little bit of money to help continue this program for kids. So just put that in the back of your head.
Yep, no, good thing to know now.
Yeah, but it ended, Friday was the last day, ran 4 weeks. I can't say enough great things about it. And the kids even actually like going. I mean, some of them complain every day when they get on the bus, but most of them are happy to be there.
Complaining doesn't mean they don't like it.
Right.
Could you give some examples of what the field trips were? I was just curious of where they.
They went on a Sunapee boat cruise. They went to, where did they go with up to,
The gondola.
they went to the gondolas.
Gondola.
They did some bowling. Some of the younger
Some of the
kids.
weather caused some, I'm not sure, they didn't make it to Silver Lake, but that was planned. The last day they had a big thing planned, but they had to shift to like a movie theater. And
Yeah, the weather
so
was.
the weather, Wednesday seemed to be the day for bad weather, but
Yep.
they always had a great backup
That sounds
plan.
nice.
They went to Billings
They went to
Farm.
Billings Farm. Yeah, they did a lot.
Some really great experiences.
A lot of coordination.
Yeah.
And I think Alyssa was in that picture. She's a school counselor at Heartland. She kind of is Katie's right-hand person during the summer and helps in the office, helps organize the trips and helps with behaviors and all sorts of things. So yeah, it's been great. And kudos to Katie and the staff and the parents that get the kids there all summer long.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, thank you all for that administrative report. Unless there's anything else on that item, we can move on to number 6, which is items for discussion, followed by motions if needed. And first up, we have the Windsor Unified Arts Grant / fundraiser.
So Christy was planning to be here. I don't think she's on. She emailed me today, Christy Keeney. She's a art teacher at high school level now. She's in Maine and she was going to remote in and they're having storms and she's out of power. So she did email me today with a message in case that was going to happen. She was being very proactive.
I drove through that.
Did you? Yeah, she said she was going to really try, but so she said, let's see. So the arts department, Windsor, wrote to the Byrne Foundation. I'm sorry. They wrote to a foundation who likes to remain anonymous to ask for some funds to help update the arts technology that they have in the theater. And what she said, it's the Chrome technology is not adequate for the arts needs, and most of the software runs in the Apple platform. So they want to update their arts technology with Apple-based softwares.
Yep.
They asked for $25,000. The foundation has agreed to give $15,000 if they can raise $10,000 in the community or in and around the community by December 31st. So they are planning to solicit donations from businesses, individuals, and arts organizations, and they are going to be hosting fundraising throughout the fall, but they wanted to make sure that the board was aware and that you're okay with that, essentially.
Yeah, and we don't need to vote on it.
You don't need to vote on it, but we try to keep you informed.
Definitely. Well, I mean, that's fantastic.
Isn't that
And I
great?
will, once, I'm assuming there'll be some sort of online donation portal or something, but I'll certainly share that and promote it as soon as I
Awesome.
have my hands on it. And that's a fantastic opportunity. I know the theaters needed some upgrades and definitely for that kind of stuff, Mac is the platform to use. So
I
great.
got a question.
Hopefully I can answer it. She's not here.
So they have to match it with $10,000. Can they get a grant to take up part of that?
I think they probably could, yeah. I
Okay.
don't see why not.
So if you go to Mascoma or whatever.
They could, yeah. Yep, and they're all about it. They're very excited. We have some new staffing in that department.
Yep.
And so they want to take this on, and I think it's great.
I really wish that the Chrome and even the Windows had, but all the software development in that area is in Apple.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
They're not. That's not going to change in the near future.
Nope. So I will share with Christine and her team that the board is A-okay with the plan.
Yeah, no, I love hearing about that kind of stuff. And, I look forward to, like I said, getting the info and being able to contribute and share.
Okay.
All right, so next up is Associate Principal / Targeted Supports Coordinator.
Yep, this one's me. So we currently have a person on a teacher contract who is doing a majority of her day in the administrative realm, doing a lot of administrative work. Originally, and this has morphed over time. So originally it was a teacher contract with some work in the MTSS realm and 504 coordination, but that has grown into curriculum work. It has grown into testing coordinator. It's grown into some work on proficiencies with the AOE, the math work that we talked about earlier. And the biggie is covering for the principals when they're out of the building. And so there was an ask that this particular contract be an administrative contract instead of a teacher contract to honor the work that's being done. We did meet with the union because if we're going to riff a position, we have to go to the union to have that conversation. When we talked through it, they were in agreement that this particular role is mostly administration. And since we are hiring a Title I intervention / instructional coach position, it was kind of a wash, and they agreed that it would be okay to riff that for the coming year. I didn't feel comfortable doing that without talking to the board. So that's why we're here. It's another administrative position. I think this person 100% is doing administrative work and they're doing it really well. And I'd like to honor it. It's not a position that will cost the board more money. It's just a correction of really how the roles are defined. So wanted to just
What were they teaching?
never teaching, doing some intervention originally. So if you're an interventionist, you're on a teacher contract. So
Okay.
it's just morphed over time based on the needs in the district.
Can you please spell out what RIF means?
Reduction in force. Yes, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me. For the public,
Yeah.
reduction in force. Yes. So it's by contract if we
Cut a position.
cut a position. Yeah.
It is,
The board can cut a position based on
need, yes.
need
Yeah.
and we inform the union and
It was
but-
much better to work with the union.
Mhm.
Given that this sounds like negotiated with the union, is this something we need to vote on, or you're just getting our general
I just want,
input?
I mean, to add
before
another
we-
administrative position.
Yep.
I feel like the board needs to be okay with that because it's another,
What supervisory role will this person have?
so not like supervision and evaluation. That's not in the job description,
Right.
but supervising, the implementation of curriculum and professional development that's being provided, seeing that that's taking hold and taking place.
What about overseeing, not overseeing, because this is going to be kind of their role, what interventionists are doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
this person would know what interventionists are doing. classroom
And
teaching
then
would
guide the
and guide, yes.
based upon
Yes.
the data that.
Yes,
Okay.
but not evaluating. That would be the
Right.
principal. So it's an admin contract, but it's not a principal.
Mhm.
If that makes sense.
It's more of a coordinator
Yes.
position.
Um,
I think the title in this might be really important.
Yeah.
Not for us, and not for the teachers, and not for the staff, but for the town,
Yeah.
the community,
Yeah.
and having them have a coordinator title instead of a principal or even associate principal title. It might just, it doesn't mean we can't change it in the future, but
Mhm.
with all the difficulties in budget that we went through and
Yeah.
that we cut
Yep.
many things, I think it might be politically advantageous not to, at least this year, give them an associate principal
Title,
title.
could be just a targeted supports coordinator.
Right.
Yeah, and it's not an added position. I want to be clear about that.
Right.
This person's in the role doing this job right now.
Right.
It's just a change in where the contract is.
We're reallocating the FTE from a teacher.
Yes.
To an admin.
Yeah.
Yep.
So thoughts?
I think it makes sense.
Where's Jim? There's a mouse in the house. We're in Vermont.
We take them off always. We love it.
It's your pet, right, Jen?
Certainly one of them.
Yeah. I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I think it clarifies this person's role if this is their role that they're taking. And I like the clarity of roles within a district.
Okay.
I don't like how Hartford handles it because they have all these coordinators that are on a teacher contract.
Yeah.
Because it costs them less money.
Right.
Because their admin contract is really expensive.
Yeah.
And so that's how they get around it.
Okay.
But our admin contract is not so rigid.
Right.
So yeah.
Would the board entertain a 2-year administrative contract for this individual, this position?
Would them leaving after this year be a detriment to the schools?
100%.
Okay, then I do not have a problem with it.
Good?
It all makes sense to me. Yeah.
Is it uncommon to do 2 years?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. But I want to be open and transparent about it.
Yeah.
So,
It gives, especially seeing this person's on a teacher contract, and that gives them certain protection.
Right.
Because you have to go through a process to release a teacher unless it's just a RIF. And so giving this individual a 2-year contract will make the transition feel
yes,
safer for them, I think.
that is 100% correct.
But I agree with what you are saying about all of that, including the title of
Mhm.
associate principal. And as such, is the person going to have feelings about the title being there for 2 years?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think the person wants some protection when you're acting as an administrator. You get certain protections from the VPA, and I think to be on an admin contract.
Okay,
Gives
so it's
a-
about the contract,
Yeah.
not about the title.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, and if that is not the case, if I'm wrong about that, I will certainly inform you. But I don't
So
think I'm wrong about that.
can I ask, how does that, so if this is a new position, but they've already been employed by our district, how does the evaluation component work?
For an administrator instead of a teacher.
Yeah, because you're on, as a new employee, you have a not a grace period, but a trial period.
Probationary period, yeah.
So would it be the same thing? Would there be kind of the intensive evaluation?
For the first 2 years.
Uh-huh.
Yep, that's the way it is with the principals, for the first 2 years, yeah. And then it's every other year. When you're a probationary teacher, you're evaluated, you're observed so many times in the first 2 years and, with final evaluations, and then you go on a cycle. So after you're, they're labeled A, B, C, D, I can't remember which is which, but once you're not a probationary teacher, you're going to engage in a goal setting year, you're going to engage in an action research year, and then you're going to be evaluated again. So it's a cycle. So the administrative is a similar cycle.
Amy, I saw you had your hand up, but took it down. All good? Okay. All right. Any
Okay.
other discussion on this? And this, I don't think we need to
I don't
vote on
think
it.
so
You just
either.
needed the nodding of heads.
Yeah.
And
I just wanted to
clear in
be
there.
open and
Great.
upfront about it. So
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Oh, we're on to item C, board onboarding update, and that is my thing. So, do you know, do I have the ability to share screen on this?
You should. And if you don't, I can give it to
I
you.
got a quick thing I can show you all, and I'll pop it up for the folks at home too. Let's move this window over to the other one.
You are a co-host. You should be able to.
Fantastic. All right. There we go. So we discussed a little bit, I should say we started the discussion at our retreat about coming up with an onboarding procedure, as well as creating some materials to help onboard specifically board members when we have folks turn over. So at this meeting, what I wanted to do was just take a look at the highest level piece, which is the procedure part. I wrote up something really straightforward. It is the 3 things that should happen and a very brief list of materials that people should be getting. And I think the parameter that I set was in the first month, but we are going to discuss it, and hopefully y'all will have some input and we can make some changes if need be. So this is what I got, and I'll just read it out because it's really short. So when a new member joins the Mount Scottney School District Board, the following will occur in the first month of their tenure. That is that they'll meet with the most recent board chair, because of course after the election there is no chair, and the superintendent. They will meet with the board for welcome, introductions, question and answer, and review of onboarding materials. I did put in the caveat that could be during reorganization if there's time, or we could have a special meeting. We just need to make sure that those steps are happening. And then there's going to be a tour of Mount Scottney School District and Windsor Southeast Supervisory Union facilities, which would include introductions to staff and learners. And that would include Windsor School, Albert Bridge School, and the SU offices, and introductions to all the, as many folks as is feasible. So the materials that we want to get folks would be the Mount Scottney School District Governance Handbook, and that the way that I've kind of conceptualized that is a digital handbook with links to essential district, SU, VSBA, AOE, and any other state resources that they might need to know. And then the Essential Work of School Boards book that we already encourage folks to get from VSBA. And that can just be making sure that they're going to the portal and signing up to get it sent to them. But within the first month, I think, is a pretty fair amount of time. So I will note the Mount Scottney School District Governance Handbook is not a thing that exists. So the next step, not yet. The next steps on this, once we agree to this kind of higher level procedure and put that in our enduring materials, would be to break out some work to build up those materials. I think a lot of it's going to be compiling, and much like we're doing now, just going maybe piece by piece throughout the rest of the year, making some changes and putting that guide together so that by the time we hit the spring and there's always the potential that we will have new board members, we'll be able to put this into action. So any thoughts, changes, discussion on that?
I think it's great.
I think it looks great. Thank you for putting it
Yeah.
together.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
So do you need, is your plan subgroups at some point to do the work, or share documents, or what are you thinking?
So I can show you just briefly, since this is kind of a broader onboarding thing. So and this again, we don't have to vote on it. It's just an enduring material. So if we have the kind of tacit nodding of heads approval, I can send this to you and we can pop this in our enduring materials folder.
Absolutely.
So
I can give you the materials that I give candidates. I have a set thing that's VSBA stuff, our policies, Act 1, there's a whole bunch.
Strategic plan, I
The
think you
strategic
included,
plan. Yeah, there's like 7 or 8 different things in it.
So I'd say broadly, if anybody else has any materials, I know Elizabeth, that's fantastic. Christine, we spoke earlier about, just kicking me some of what you're using. I know that you've done a lot of work with the team for onboarding for, district employees and SU employees. So I think just getting eyes on that and seeing if there's any material that we can, retool for our purposes. So in general, if folks have things and they can just send them to me, I can start compiling them.
Excellent.
If anybody else wanted to form kind of like a subgroup on this, I think if, one other person wanted to sit down with me occasionally and help parse through this and put things together, I would certainly be open to it. If you'd rather just kind of kick me things as they come up, I'm happy to pull this together and just sort of make asks individually between meetings. I don't think we need to overcomplicate this. I just want to make sure it's getting done. So I'm pretty happy with just, for starters, you all who have things, send them my way. I'll parse through them, pull them together, and I'll give you a quick idea of, and Christine, I'll send this to you after the meeting. Give you a quick idea of what I've already got, but I just have a very rough basic outline that pulled together some things from our retreats and some stuff that I had found on the SU website. This is based on the plan from the Governance Core, which is the book I made the presentation that was built around that. I think it's a really nice, clear structure as to how to put together this kind of resource. So, all right. So our contents, let me just add one actually, resources. So our contents would be our moral imperative or unity of purpose statements, board and superintendent roles, responsibilities, some sort of blurb or materials just about our board culture, anything that people would, want to know. I think that's something that we actually could have a good discussion at during a meeting and come up with some stuff. Protocols, that's enduring materials that we've worked on already. So just have a list of whatever is current to that year that we can put in this living document. Any board adopted strategic goals. I think that it would be appropriate if we, have longer term ones we want to put in there. That's great. I think just updating with the annuals from the retreat would also serve that function. And I've already pulled those. And then lastly, just a list of resources. So links to, like I said, local SU, AOE, VSBA, state, just anything that we can link people to.
And then a brief outline and description of Robert's rules.
Yep, that would be exactly. That's the kind of thing we would want to put in there.
Because not Robert's rules itself, because it's a little bit dry, but
So excited.
If we
The
can,
cheat sheet.
if we can get the VSBA to send everybody this at least once, this is the best thing that they, I mean, the VSBA has done a lot of great things. This, I think, is the simplest and most useful thing they have ever done, which is just this nice laminated two-sider of how to run a meeting. When I show up and my brain's not totally on from a long day, this is what keeps me going. So, but yes, exactly, like that kind of stuff. So again, if any of you all have thoughts about it, resources that should be there, materials we've already used here or in other roles, just kick them to me and I'll start pulling all this together.
Do you have that digitally?
I don't. They sent this to us, I think, on it was like board appreciation.
It'd be
week or
nice to
something.
have it in your
I could also just
photocopy it or something, yeah.
we could scan. I could also just ask. I'm sure VSBA has the file somewhere if they want to
Yeah.
send it to us. I just made an account finally on their page because I think
I don't know.
it didn't used to be as firewalled. Is
Yeah.
that a
Yeah.
new thing?
They did it like a year ago.
Yeah, so I made my account. So I'm gonna start looking through and maybe pulling some stuff from there and just linking it, and maybe even just incur a guide to like, hey, here's how to make an account at VSBA.
Yeah, that would be.
I think just in general, the more structure we can have when folks come on, the better it's going to be.
Yep.
So cool.
Can we back up for just a second?
Sure.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Maybe it's an SU question, but where are you y'all with the handbook update?
Which one? Staff or the family?
All of them.
Oh, well,
And
great question, right,
Great
Tracy?
question.
We had our, we had our retreat and we went to the VSA last week as a team and we spent a couple of extra days having our retreat. And Tracy was actually part of, I think they're part of all the handbook teams because she wanted to get up to speed. Yeah. So we revamped the staff handbook. That is done and was sent out today, actually, in my welcome back letter to the staff. The family student family handbook. I just met with Tracy Price. She's had a great, she's been like a
She's
lead on those
amazing,
teams, like
yeah.
helping
She's been a really good
create,
resource.
redraft those handbooks. And I will say, you know, it wasn't that long ago that each school had their own.
Yeah.
And so I was sharing with
Right.
Tracy Price about, it was probably 3 or maybe 4 years ago, we literally at one of our meetings, we all printed out our handbooks and we were cutting and
Yeah.
pasting, trying to get a unified handbook. So it's morphed, it's getting better and better. So Tracy said it was ready to go. I'm happy to share it with you. The family is done. The athletic handbook's not quite done. Kate's meeting with
Are you
athletic
gonna have any
directors
kind of sign off thing for
Yes.
parents?
Yeah.
For families?
Yeah. and for staff.
Good.
We need to, so.
And I think a good connection to this particular item is that that's the kind of, I think we should also link to that in our,
Yeah,
in our
sure.
governance handbook,
Yeah,
is
right.
make sure that we're,
Exactly.
Yep.
you know, everything that a board member would want to be able to see just at that high level.
Yep.
They had a link to, so.
We've also worked really hard. I shared with you last year that one of our big projects last summer was to come up with a major minor behavior matrix so that we're consistently approaching behaviors in line with our philosophy of behaviors and discipline. And so we tried it out for a year and things came up that weren't addressed in it, you know, and you know, just living with it for a year, we wanted to make some tweaks to it. And again, both Tracy's were on that team, really bringing a lot of information kind of into it around our philosophy and how we really appreciate a restorative approach, and some information for families on that. We're gonna link a good portion of that document in our family handbook this year. We didn't last year, we weren't ready. So that families can get a sense of, you know, how we handle things. We're not ready to share the entire matrix, like if this interaction, this is kind of some guidelines, but we're gonna share a good portion of it out to families. So we're pretty proud of it, actually.
Yeah,
Good.
it's
Yeah.
a lot of work.
It's been a lot of work.
Yeah.
So we spent part of our retreat just reviewing it as a
Yep.
team and talking through it and making suggestions. So they're ready to go.
All right.
Pretty excited about it. Thank you for asking. That was
It's good
good
stuff.
to shout out some of the great work the team is doing.
So just to wrap up on this particular item too, and again, I think all that is stuff that we can connect to this and make sure that we can get
Right.
from
Right.
points A to B to C.
Yeah.
What I think I would like to do with this as sort of an overarching goal that we have for one of our strategic goals of the year is let's just keep this on the agenda and we can update month to month. If we wrap up in 3-4 months, then we can drop it and just, you know, get it back in. If we need to pull it every once in a while, that's fine. I just want to kind of keep the ball in the air.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty happy having it be a little bit less formal, not doing work groups or anything, and I'll just pull things together. If we feel like we need that between 2 months, we can always schedule some time. But yeah, I appreciate everybody's support of this and your feedback. And you know, I think it can be really impactful for our board.
It'll simplify things a lot.
Yeah.
I think just reducing uncertainty. It's
Yeah.
one of those things that there doesn't need to be uncertainty about this because boards change.
Well, it also depends on, you know, it depends on why somebody's leaving a board and the onboarding of somebody in whatever that might be.
Mhm.
I mean, it takes a lot of different forms, but simplifying that process alleviates, you know, some of the pressure around some of the scenarios.
Yeah, exactly. And part of why I kept that procedure pretty high level is that I was thinking about like regular, you know, election season when we have people come on. I mentioned the reorganization, but you know, if we do a mid-year appointment, you can follow all the same steps.
Right.
You
Exactly.
know, it's a pretty
Right.
flexible guide of just, you know, basic things that we should be doing, bare minimum, that will help orient folks to our governance style and our community and our culture. So yeah,
Excellent.
very cool. All right, get back to our agenda here.
The sad news.
Yes, this is D. This is the resignation of the school clerk. So I'll let you
Yep, Larry, as he
Yes.
promised, was the school clerk for a year and he has resigned.
Mhm.
It's a lot of extra effort and time on his part, and his role has shifted a bit this year with the changes at the SU and personnel. And so he needs that time to do his job. So we need to find somebody
Mhm.
who will be the school clerk for this season.
Is there a job description you can pull together and put in Front Porch Forum or in the listserv?
I think it's in statute, isn't it?
It's supposed to be isn't it supposed to also be the
Ideally,
town clerk?
it is a town clerk.
Ideally.
So we
We can at least ask, we can start by asking.
I will say that the new town clerk here,
Amy.
Amy, was lovely to work with. She was super helpful, and
We can start by asking her. I mean,
it's probably
Yeah.
a good idea. She knows the rules. She knows what she's
well, I
doing.
know that was an issue in the past, is that it just wasn't.
She had just started and
Yeah.
it wasn't possible, but
Yeah, I think we also just,
Yeah.
with the complications we had in 2023 and then the sort of unusual situation with the budget this year, I think I can't really thank Larry enough for being willing to take that on short term and just make sure that we just have everything really solid, and
Got a tabulator now.
we got a tabulator and, things were just kind of moved in a straight line.
Yeah.
And especially with the fact that we had to do a special election a month later
Right.
and do all of that preparation. I mean, Larry's assistance on that was invaluable. So, props to Larry as always, now and forever. But yeah, let's talk to Amy. You said the West Windsor clerk. Cool. Would you like me to reach out to her, or?
I'm not reaching out to her.
Okay, well, Bill doesn't have to.
I can reach out to her.
Okay, Elizabeth, yeah, if you wouldn't mind
that'd be
doing
great.
that. Just give her the rundown,
I gotta
and
get a hold of her anyway.
yeah, and we'll see how that goes. And if she is not interested, then we can just put it on the agenda again next
Okay,
month
that
and
sounds good. We'll check in on it.
brainstorm
Question.
that.
Yes.
Doesn't pay anything.
It did not pay anything. We paid the moderator, as you recall. $100, I think.
I
I think that's what we voted on, or you voted on last
we
year.
voted on that.
$100
I have no
moderator.
problem doing that for the clerk too. I mean, I think that's
Paying the clerk
It's a
something.
lot more work that the clerk is doing.
And it might be worth doing it per election.
Yeah.
I think that
So you could tell her that the board is in discussion about payment.
I think that would be totally appropriate.
I mean, that's the day of the election is when a clerk does most of their work.
Yeah,
So
getting the ballots printed, getting the BCA, was it the BA?
BCA.
Board of Civil Authority, getting the people that are there to help count.
Yep.
One of the
maybe
things-
we can possibly reach out. You should have any person up in your Montpelier that might know what other towns do.
according to statute, it's supposed to be the clerk, the town
Yeah.
clerk.
Right, but what other people do for pay?
I'll find out.
Okay.
That'd be helpful. Yeah.
All right, I appreciate that, Elizabeth.
Well, most, because we're two towns.
Yeah.
So that makes it a little different, right?
It
Than
does.
most, like,
And I think prior to the merger, it was done by the town clerks.
Right.
And now it's, because there's two, it's.
Towns, we have
there's a
to,
lot, right.
Because I know there was a question last year about where when I was elected, where do I sign? Where do I get the paper? Which place? So that could be maybe part of what we're doing
Yeah.
is the clarity on that when we.
Yeah. I think it's supposed to be both places to get your information, but I think per election, we need to have one clerk overseeing that election.
Yeah.
So it can't be the town clerk, because we have two of them.
Was this for getting sworn in, like that kind of
Yeah.
stuff? Amy?
Amy will now.
All of our knowledge.
So it can be one of the town clerks if that is agreed upon.
can be the
Mhm.
school clerk?
Yeah.
Okay.
And a person, a new board member, they could get that paperwork and fill it out themselves and just get it notarized anywhere and then turned into the school clerk.
Yeah, that was my impression, because I think, like, when I joined the board, I think Riley swore me in. I think you just have to, that's exactly what I did, Amy, is I got the paperwork, I went to the town offices, and the notary there swore me in, and I brought it down to the
There was
SU
a-
office.
Last year, there was a question about if they were supposed to be the ones that do it. That's all I'm just saying.
Right.
As we bring
Yep.
on new people, I think having that clarity
Definitely.
of are they willing to do it? Like, are they able to, sort of thing? I think would be nice for a new person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So the only if there's going, I guess the word would be challenge, is at town meeting, because you're running two tabulators. The town clerk is running their town tabulator, and then they would also be running a school tabulator. So that would need to be worked out. But the person who becomes the clerk, if it's a town clerk who takes on that additional responsibility, they would just need to make sure that someone from the BCA is right there at the tabulator.
Okay.
But it can be done. It's depending on which town takes it on, it may or may not be more or less political.
Mhm. Yeah, no, those are all, thank you, Amy and Megan. That's all, good stuff to consider. It sounds like we'll reach out to, not this Amy, but town clerk, West Windsor town clerk Amy Elizabeth will reach out and look into some compensation comparables, and we'll get an update at next meeting. I think would work.
Okay. It's on the agenda.
Either to welcome a new clerk or
I think
Keep looking.
We should really look at what would be a fair, because I think if we found a school clerk, we want to keep them for a while.
Well, the question is, I mean, we don't get paid necessarily a ton as board members.
Right.
So I'm gonna ask, when I ask around, I'm gonna first ask the people what they get as a board member.
Mhm.
And then maybe we could agree on a proportion.
Right.
Yeah.
Of board pay. Does that makes sense to me.
I think so. Yep. All right. Any other discussion of the school clerk, resignation of school clerk? All right. And just one more time, thanks to Larry. Really helped us through an extremely unusual budget season.
Yep.
Okay, we have made it to item 7, which is setting the next agenda. So I know that I already kicked out there, just an onboarding update would be good. School clerk update.
Yeah.
I would also like to, having looked at our strategic goals, one of the ones that we actually do need to take action on at the next meeting would be looking at a schedule, and we can do this via email too, because it's scheduling. But we had said again that we wanted to do, I think, 3 or 4 community outreach sessions. So we need to start talking about that and putting it together, and at least have some public FaceTime talking about where we've gotten on that, if we've gotten anywhere on that. That is what I have.
Got your administrative report. We'll do the update on the start of school financials. Just a reminder that the date for the next meeting is September 9th, which is the second Monday because of Labor Day.
Mhm.
So it should be in your calendars correctly, but it's not the
It is.
first Monday.
Awesome.
Just
Appreciate it. And I see, and thank you for adding our strategic goals of the year to this too. I think nothing else on here looks super pressing as far as getting out ahead of it.
Yeah.
I think board professional development tracking got a lot simpler after I talked to you about it. So
Yeah.
Awesome.
Make sure.
Do you think we should start asking between now and our next meeting? Just asking around for community members who might be interested in participating in the budget committee?
Yes.
When do we typically designate our budget committee?
September.
September? Okay. Yeah, I think that I think it'd be good to maybe start asking around, at least have a plan.
How many people? Just curious if we had a number of what.
Well, why don't we pick one person from each community?
Okay.
Yeah, it's not huge.
Like one community member. And then maybe,
How are we asking them to submit interest? Or I'm just curious, are we gonna have them write a letter or what is their process?
So I think that
it's not like we're gonna have people.
I know, but I'm just curious.
You know what?
When you're asking someone to do something, you wanna know what
Yeah.
their process is that they
Yeah.
need to do it.
just to avoid getting into a completely new discussion item right now, because that could be its own conversation, let's put that on the next agenda.
Okay.
I think that we can
Budget
form the core of the budget committee from our board, and then maybe between September and October do that outreach and get somebody appointed by October from the
Okay.
community, and then we can move on. We're only losing a month there, and then once we have that process set up in future years, we can get ahead of it a little early. But that I think makes sense.
So we've got board onboarding, school clerk update, community outreach sessions, and budget committee.
Yep.
We can suck Hudson in.
There you go.
So, yes, maybe also at the next meeting, we could at least just put word out about having a student board member.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that last night. Like, thinking about how impactful he was.
Yeah.
I think honestly that can be an announcement that we do every meeting until we got
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
That's why announcements are there, is for, filling needs and getting info out.
We talked about it at our retreat too, getting that out to the students.
Yep.
The principals.
Don't just put budget committee on the agenda because you'll forget what that's for.
Budget committee,
Like community
member. Okay.
process.
Yeah, I think that's doable, and I can. I agree with you, Megan. Thanks for bringing that up. Once we have a process out, I think then we can kind of shake some trees and get the word out, and I'm sure we can find one person from each town who'd be willing to devote some time to that.
Maybe we could template a process for community involvement in different committees, so we're gonna do that. Like,
Yeah.
why not just have the same process for everybody?
I like that.
All right. Does anybody out there have a template of something similar they want to use, or I can look into it between this meeting and next and try to cook something up as a starting point? I mean,
I didn't know if, when they were doing the principal search,
Mhm.
there was involving like community members, if there was any
Right,
piece of that you did that could be carried over.
There was a form. I know when Brian does, the most active budget committee is Weathersfield.
Mhm.
I don't think we've had a formal one at Mount Scottney since I've been
Not
here
since we've been on a Scotty.
Yeah.
We definitely had one in Brownsville.
in
Yeah.
Brownsville. And in Heartland, I think I tried, but I didn't get takers. Brian puts it in his newsletter starting in like September, October. Anybody interested in being a part of the budget advisory committee, please reach out. I think he sometimes gets somebody, but sometimes he has to go asking for people to be part of it.
maybe because we're starting this again.
Yeah.
I think we can even do it as simply, the only real analog I can think of is in Windsor town government, if folks want to be on like subcommittees. It's, you basically just write a letter of intent. So maybe we can, just for this
Letter
year,
of
since we're
intent,
kind of getting
yeah.
back into it, just have it be something really simple, just like,
why do you want to be part of this
Couple
committee?
paragraph or two, why do you want to be a part of this committee?
Yep.
And leave it at that. And then again, you know, I think once we have our kind of initial foray into this and go through it, we can look back at it next year.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
And I suppose that because we've talked about this in an open meeting, if people see this and are just like itching to be on the budget committee, if they send them into
It might be.
Davis McGraw,
Yeah.
board chair,
Um,
or Christine.
I have a request, and that is, can we please be more consistent with getting announcements made on front porch forums and local listservs about our meetings?
Sure. I can certainly do that.
Front porch forum and what else, Elizabeth?
Front porch forum in both Windsor and
In
West
West
Windsor.
Okay.
And the town listserv in both Windsor and West Windsor.
Special. Yeah, that's
And maybe
very
get it
doable.
to Tom Harsh's newsletter too.
Yeah, it's on the town calendar, I think, but I can double check that. And
Oh, we have a new newsletter in Brownsville.
oh, cool.
Who does it?
Who is it who does it?
You're gonna ask the dyslexic? I know the name.
It's okay, it'll come to you. Just
Mhm.
curious. Is it monthly? Is it?
Yeah. I believe so. Is it
monthly or is it weekly?
I think it shows up monthly.
It's new, it's brand new.
Okay.
I mean, there's been like
Yeah.
2
Okay, that's
editions
great.
put out. So
Well,
it's
we are going to meet before our next school board meeting, so maybe the two of us can talk about just kind of dividing and conquering on that, and just split up who's
Yeah.
sending what to what. But I'm happy to carry part of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Cool. No, thanks for bringing that up.
you.
Any other items for the next agenda? All right, hearing none. I had said that we had some executive session stuff. I don't know that we necessarily do.
Talk through
So
it. Yeah,
we talked through
we
it.
did it.
So that's
Well done.
fantastic. Appreciate y'all. So no executive session. And number 9 is adjournment. So I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Okay, and I will take a voice vote to adjourn. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
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 All right,
Aye.
so this meeting. Oh, thank you, Amy. This meeting of the Madison County School District Board is adjourned at 7:57 p.m.